Good Monday morning, everyone. It is cold again in Texas. And you know, us Texans are wusses and we don't like the cold. So come get it back. Okay. Come take it back. But oh my gosh, you guys, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. But today is Author Talk Day. It's my favorite day of the week. I'm here with Russell, Valerie, and our lovely author guest today is Diann. And so, you guys, of course, you know, we have to talk about the Super Bowl. And, you know, or lack of Super Bowl, I guess I will say, because it was like a total blowout. But, you know, the biggest thing people are talking about is the halftime performance. And so I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say I am the only one on this call, maybe that actually knows who Kendrick Lamar is. Is that fair? Do you guys all know who he is? You all listen to his music? You guys are all down with it? No. Okay. So
I've heard it.
Just me.
I've heard it, but I'm not like, like it's not my jam, but
You're not down with it?
Well, it's all right. It's just like, it's there.
Well, to educate you guys on why this was such an iconic thing. So when he performed that song at the end, They Not Like Us, right, is this massive diss to the rapper Drake. Okay, yes. So if you don't know who he is, it's a huge diss to him. 100%. It goes into
Ooh, yes.
him liking young kids and those kinds of things, right? So it's a huge diss. And so Drake had tried to prevent him from performing this song since he knew he was going to do the halftime, tried to sue him, do a cease and desist, all this stuff, and which failed. And so that's why he kind of teased he really wants to do it, but he might get sued. And then he said, "Oh, screw it, I'm going to do it," right? And then everyone in the crowd went wild. So he also did recently just win a Grammy or 2 Grammys for that song as well. So that's why the halftime was the way that it was and why it was so important is because it's this huge diss.
I did not realize, Amy, you were so cool.
I am, man.
That's like edgy stuff. You're so cool.
My hair is green. It should be edgy.
Yeah, well. You don't have to
the
be
place we were at.
Hair. You just have to make a mistake when you're dyeing your hair.
No,
he's getting ready for spring. That's it. But the place where we were watching the Super Bowl had the closed caption on, and when he was singing that, Amy, everybody went, "Did he just say that?"
Yeah, he mentioned his name and everything.
Drake is in all kind of trouble. Whoa. But yeah, so that was pretty exciting.
It
was a good show. It was a good show.
I thought so. I thought it was one of the better ones. Now, you cannot ever outdo when Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, Eminem, Snoop Dogg, like you can't, or like Snoop Dogg, yeah. Like you can't outdo that one. That one's always going to be the most favorite one, right? Maybe at least amongst millennials, those are our favorites, But I thought it was better than last year's. It was more patriotic. He had all the red, white, and blue and stuff. So it was a nice nod to that. And I thought it was entertaining. And because I knew the backstory of it. So when he sang the song, I was all up out of my seat. So, Amy gets down with it, you guys. Amy gets down with it, according to Josh, because he had no idea about the whole diss thing until I told him. And he's younger than me, you guys. I'm just saying, throwing it out there. But in terms of weekend, you guys, that is pretty much what I did all weekend. I enjoyed the nice, cool weather. I'm getting ready for Valentine's Day. Meadow has Valentine's Day on Friday at school, and it's an ice cream party. But she is like her mama, and we are lactose and dairy intolerant, so we can't have that. So I have to go get her an ice cream that she can have and bring to her and all these lovely things. And so, but the attitude in my household, you guys, over the weekend was strong. I don't know what's going on with my 5 and 4-year-old, but they are 5 and 4 going on 16 and 17. I'm going to knock them out. Okay. I'm just like, that was my weekend. I was trying not to knock my kids out. So I hope you guys had a better weekend than I did, because I had to leave the room several times because the attitude is strong in this house. And I will take credit for that. I am the reason that they have that, and that's fine. When they're older, it's great. But right now, it's not wonderful. So I hope you guys had better weekends than I did. You didn't have to knock people out or anything like that. So who wants to dive into their weekend first? Valerie, you got nominated.
Okay. Well, let's see, we started going to the new Cirque here in Houston. It's the new show called Echo, which was pretty incredible. It was because we've seen the other shows several times, so this one was just so amazing. It was very fantastical. Everything they were doing, I was just like, this could be a story. This could be a story. This could be a story because the elements of the show, especially they have like a scene where there's like a giant, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess like a robot character, but the main character, she goes like up to him and everything. It's phenomenal. It's just amazing. And then Saturday, what did we do? Oh, I'm co-chairing a big event here in March at our church. So me and the daughters came and we baked cookies all day, and we were testing cookies because we weren't sure if they were going to be the right recipe because it has to be a traditional Italian cookie. And so we did bread and cookies, and I mean literally all day. And then yesterday was just chillax, go to a party, get somebody else's food. It was great.
Nice.
Sounds good.
I like it.
Yes.
So what's an Italian cookie?
Well, we're co-chairing the St. Joseph's altar in March and so the cookies we're making are the cucciadatis, the fig cookies, and so the filling's kind of like a little specialized filling, and you have to like roll them, and then we have to put some icing on them and stuff. And then we also made some sesame cookies, and then we made the braided bread with sesames on it. All that is to decorate the altar, and then we have the bake sale, so all the cookies will go for the bake sale. And everything's
Nice.
to your church.
I'm sorry?
I'm going to come to your church.
Yes, you should. And what's so crazy is my aunts are doing one at their church, and and also our whole family is doing one at some church somewhere, involved. And so it's just a long tradition. We even have a family photo of my grandpa and my and his brother-in-law, my dad's uncle, who, when they came home from World War II, they had a special St. Joseph's altar in gratitude for them coming home safe from World War II. And so it's a black and white photo. It's amazing. It's just, it's our inspiration, saying, just family stuff like that.
That's
Fun.
beautiful. That's a book.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
So,
Cooking.
Diann, what did you do this weekend?
Well, as people probably know, I like to garden, and I knew there was, I had mints to freeze, so you see, they're freeze. So I heard it was going to get really cold here, so I went and bought a bunch of bulbs, and they were 40% off, so I was so excited. And I quickly planted about 40 bulbs over the weekend. Got it
Nice.
just in time
Wow.
for the cold.
Nice.
I know, I'm so excited.
That's actually, I totally get that. Other people might think it's stupid, but that's a very wholesome completionist type feeling. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
we drove with a 13-week-old puppy from Atlanta to Houston because this week my 3-year-old genetically identical twin granddaughters are having tonsillectomies on Tuesday.
Oh no.
And so we're here to serve and to help. And it's my son's birthday this week, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is that I think our dog is gaining like half a pound a day.
Nice.
So it's gross.
I love it.
You pick her up in the morning, you're like, oh my God. And Diann, she's usually on the show now, but I walked her around the hotel twice trying to tire her out. So she's sleeping upstairs in the room. And I had this great event Saturday night, which I will talk about after we thank everyone for listening to us. Is that coming from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sound?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm pretty
no.
sure. Oh,
Okay.
I don't hear anything.
As long as so we want to thank everyone for listening to us. We're top 1% in some of the podcast channels, and we're very grateful and humbled by it. We have been on the air for 9 years. We've been on a podcast now for a little while. At the first 6 months or so, I couldn't even find us.
Mhm.
And then Aimee did all these changes that worked out great. Now you can find us really easily. Aimee, where can people find us?
Yeah. So I didn't really do it. I just rebranded us, you guys. I just changed the colors, is all I did, crimson, red, and gold. But you can go to any podcasting network station that hosts podcasts, search for Author Talk, look for the crimson, red, and gold. That is us. My go-to is Amazon Music, Spotify, Good Pods. If you're an Apple user, iTunes. If you're an Android user, Google Play. Those are where I generally go to find us, but we're anywhere. If you want to watch us, because I always get a hoot out of watching us when I go back and rewatch it, and I make Josh watch them at the end of the day.
That's funny.
I always find it funny to watch. You can go to our YouTube channel, our Facebook group, any one of our social media channels, and you can find us. You can engage with us, ask us questions while we're live, or ask our guest questions. We love engaging and enjoying the show with you. Russell didn't mention it, but we've done this for 9 years now. So you can go all the way back on our YouTube channel and see how we started to where we are today, and just imagine on where we're going to be in a few months, or what all that's going to look like. So you can go and hear all of our interviews. We have done a lot within the writing community and authorpreneurs. We have spoken to a lot and met some really cool people. Speaking of meeting people, Russell, I swear I saw your son up here in Bryan College Station this weekend. If not, then he has a doppelganger out there, because I swear it was one of your sons.
Well,
So
he may one of them may have been, because I have
okay.
lots of sons, it turns out.
I know.
Okay. Now I need to change the subject though.
Okay.
So my son insisted I went to his hip friend's birthday party for him Saturday night at this local beer pub, dog place. And he said, "Look, Dad, you can have a cigar out on the patio, so you don't have any excuse not to come."
Nice.
So I went, and I was speaking to all his friends, and this crowd is younger 30, older 20. They're readers, which is shocking because most of that generation are not readers. And they were talking about something called Royal Road, and
Mhm.
I'd never heard of it. And they were talking, it's mainly fantasy books, that it's kind of like that you put these, you write your book by chapters, you just put it on this web page, people read it. The way it seems to work with authors is they develop followings as they write chapter after chapter. uh, Once they get a large enough following, they move to a different type of page, like Patreon, where they can get paid
Yeah.
for the books. And then after they finish the books, they publish the books, and they have this big following. This is kind of a thing that these young people are into. They love reading these books on Royal Road. They love following these authors. They buy their books once they're out. It seems like a great new way to start your writing career. And I'd never heard about it before. And so Saturday night when I got back, because I don't stay at bars late, I was like the first to leave.
Nice.
I sent text to Valerie and Aimee saying, "Here is Royal Road. Read it. See what you think. I want to talk about this." So, Aimee, you did some research. What do you think?
Yeah. So it's a web novel site, and I use the hell out of those. So I have a Kindle Unlimited subscription. I read on Kindle too. I'm not saying that I don't, but they release it scene by scene or chapter by chapter is how they generally release them. Some of them have where you have to buy coins, and so you pay like $5, you get 1,000 coins, and each chapter costs X amount of coins, right? I have like 10 of those apps on my phone, and I read them a lot, like they're story based and stuff. Now, some of them can be extreme. Royal Road seems like it's more adventure fantasy, strictly fantasy driven, which is a good one. These other ones, there's some that are like romance specific, some that are like the
What are
werewolf
these channels?
vampires.
What are these apps?
They're apps that you can download on your phone. And how I find them is when I'm, perusing, just going through my reels, and we've all seen them where there's like a scene or some music playing and it has a text overlay of like a chapter of a book, and then at the bottom it'll say read more or learn more. You generally get to read the first 4 or 5 chapters for free, and then they're like, oh, download this app and you can continue reading it. That's how I find all of them. So the story piqued my interest, I read the first 5 chapters, I wanted to know what happened, and then I go and I download an app. It's generally kind of how it works, but Kindle had something similar. What was it? Kindle Vella, is that what it had, where you could release chapter by chapter, but you had to be exclusive on there, and you released a chapter at a time, and then once it was completed, then you could publish that book, but you couldn't put that book anywhere else. It had to only be on Amazon. And I don't know if they're still doing that. They were doing that like a year or 2 ago, but it's kind of like a Wattpad, right? So it's a web-based novel that you read in your apps, and you can go and select different stories that you want to read. And it's just having people can go out and do it. And it takes the tension off of having to write a full-fledged book and then publish it. You're writing scene by scene or chapter by chapter, and people can comment and stuff. So you can kind of engage with your readers and tailor things as you are continuing to write it, and you get feedback and those kinds of things.
Now, there's 2 things I want to say. Number one, this is how Dickens got started as a writer.
Really?
Oh,
Writing
okay.
chapter by chapter. In fact, there's a lot of discourse about the fact that he would change the plans in his book based upon how the readers reacted to the chapters that came out month by month. So he would go back and change it to make the readers happy. And I think, so this is like a reversal of 200 years. And it's ironic and spectacular. And I think that this is a great new way. And I don't know how long this is. Is this like 2 years old? How far behind am I? Because this is a great way for an author. I hear all the time. I had 2 authors last week ask me, how do I get started? How do I get started? What a great way to get started if you don't have any clue. I want to write, but I don't know how to. This is great.
Yeah. And you have apps that are genre specific, like Royal Road is going to be all your fantasies, right? And then there's one that's like web novel or novel something, and that's going to have all your werewolves, vampires, all of those. And then you have a romance one that you can download, and they're more genre specific. But they even have, Russell, I'm going to blow your mind. They even have books that instead of reading them, it is chapter by chapter that's audio read. And then you say that you get like 52 chapters, I think, like scenes, right, for free to listen to, and then you buy to listen to it, but it's only an Audible. It's not on Audible, but it's only audio based. You can't read the novels, you can only listen to it. So they have apps like that out there that people are also doing.
This
I know,
is
right?
amazing. This
It's
is
cool.
so amazing.
It's cool stuff. Yeah. It just, my husband doesn't like it because then he sees all my like Google purchases for coins, and he's like, what the hell are you reading? And I'm like, I don't know. I wanted to finish this. And he's like, well, how many chapters? And it'll say like 352 chapters. It's 352 scenes, not chapters. They just label them different, right? But they're all out there for genre specific, all kinds, but I can read them on my phone. Now, what you can't do is, at least for me, what I couldn't do is if you don't have it like a Kindle Fire that has like internet and stuff, you can't download those apps onto your Kindle Fire. You can only read them from your phone or from like a web browser, right? So that's the difference between them. Because I mean, I have a Books and I have a Kindle Fire, and then I have my phone, and I read all those other ones on my phone, and then my Kindle and all that. But that's the only downfall. But they're great stories.
Okay, I have an action request for our listeners. If you are writing in one of these genres, in one of these links, in one of these web pages, reach out to us. I want you on the show. I want to talk about it. So if you know someone that does that, have them reach out to us. I want them on the show. I want to talk about this some more. I think this is a great opportunity for writers that don't know how to get started, don't have the money to get started, but have the ambition and have the the love of it to get started.
Yeah. It's great. I had one book that I was following. She wrote multiple, books on this site, and she outgrew the site. And so she had to move to what you're talking about, which is like a Patreon site that they could pay to get it. And it was monthly subscriptions, and it ended up being cheaper. But she did limited editions. Her books were selling out, and she started on doing like what the web novel one that I told you about is what she started her werewolf kind of series on. She started a Facebook group from it, and it's just blown up into what it is. But that's just how she got started. So, there's all kinds of different avenues, I think, to go. But I didn't know a lot of people read those because Josh made fun of me for reading those. He's like, what? That's not an actual book. Yeah.
No, this is a thing. It's especially a young reader thing. Young being under 40.
Oh, okay. Then I fall underneath that. Okay.
I know, right?
But you know what? I'm sure there's some kind of people need guidance just to get on it. Like, okay, do I just like, hey, I just want to join, or do you have to be like screened, or or say like, are you really for this genre? We need to refer you. I'm sure there's some kind of procedure to get on it, and that would be good to know as well.
You're so suspicious. There is actually a warning when you're looking at it. As I was looking at it, they do screen for porn.
Yeah, those screen, like you can't write erotic on there unless it's the romance one. You can do it on that one, right? But when it comes to screening on some of these apps, I will say that they don't, because you will have writers from all over the world that are writing, and so grammar's messed up, spelling can be messed up, and so if that's like a hardcore deterrent for you in reading, I don't recommend you do this, because you have to remember these people are just writing and to get it out, and it's not going to be polished and professionally edited. And so you have to be able to kind of let that go out the window and sometimes be able to interpret what they meant. That is a true statement. Some of these stories go on longer because they're making a lot of money, because you're buying coins. So you have to know when to walk away, and you'll figure all those things out as you dive into these new web-based novels. But I've read some really great books from there. So, it's a fascinating thing.
And you should have told us.
I'm sorry. Josh made fun of me for it. I didn't think that it was like a thing. I thought you were going to be like, what's like
once again, Josh was wrong and Amy was right.
I know.
We do need to get to Diann. I've taken up too much time.
Valerie!
But this is such an exciting subject.
Well,
it is an exciting subject.
Yeah. Because all of you guys are writers. And so now if you want to dabble, like Diann, you write children and historical. Now, if you wanted to dabble into something new and you don't know how it would be, received, you could do a web-based novel and see the feedback stuff that you get. And then maybe I think it's a good way to test going from one genre to the other,
Right. I may write a science fiction shoot 'em up.
Ooh,
chapter by chapter.
Okay.
Because
why not?
Yeah. Why not, Russell? I like it. Valerie, let's get Diann talking about all of her stuff. She's got a cute children's series out and her historical book. So Diann, Valerie, take it away.
Oh my gosh, Diann, tell us about Boomer. What is going on with Boomer, your little character?
Oh, thank you so much. So I'm so excited about Boomer. Boomer the Curious Bunny came out about a year ago, and he did really well, actually about maybe a year and a half. And so we decided to turn it into a series. And so I have 3 books, but the first one is coming out in hard copy in April, and you can get it on Kindle right now. And then the next one will come out probably this summer, and then in the spring, or I guess the fall, the next one. So yay! And I really appreciate everybody falling in love with Boomer. I'd like to see Boomer be a stuffed animal.
And so what age are your books for?
That particular book is 3 to 7, but I test my books out with young writer or young preschoolers, so to see how they react. And that's actually how I decide to edit sometimes, is get the children's reactions. And so 2-year-olds actually, when if parents are reading it, they're gonna totally love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so how did the whole development of Boomer come about?
That's a great question. Remember those COVID days where we're all stuck indoors? Luckily, I lived in a suburb outside of Houston called Kingwood, and it's called a
Mhm.
livable forest. And so
Mhm.
every neighborhood is very close to a place where you can get straight into the forest and go for a walk. So we know, my husband and I, we never felt closed in because we could go walk for miles in the forest. And I generally like to get up early in the morning, so I would go walking in the forest and the birds would be singing and the squirrels, everybody's going and getting, all their little food. And this one little rabbit seemed to always be um, doing things when I was coming. And so that particular rabbit inspired me for Boomer. So,
Isn't it silly? I mean, not silly, but just unique how the where the concepts come from. Because and it just and when I'm walking too, I feel like things just kind of like they stick in my head. I'm like, this is coming to my head for a reason. Do you feel that too sometimes when you're writing?
absolutely. And even to go one step back, um, when I was living in Dubai, a friend of mine, an artist, she had this teeny tiny little picture. She's a very well British artist. And I fell in love with this picture because I love trees. I mean, I just really love trees. If there's a hole in a tree, I'm going to go sit in it. And so, and it was just this tree and a teeny tiny little rabbit. And I was like, that's a story. And so when I was walking around the path, I thought of that, my friend's picture too. And I was like, I think the story just came to me. So I would do a shout out for that because she knows that.
And then how do you like for me if I am out doing this and I have an idea, how do you go about just like not losing that train of thought? Like sometimes I will text myself, I'll email myself. I don't know. How do you do that to maybe even develop your concept?
And that's another great question. Yes, I'm always worried about losing, and which I have before too. So I try to write it down. And
Hmm.
there's sometimes in the middle of the night, it'll come to me an idea. And if I don't get up and write that down right then, um, I will lose it. And sometimes I'm like fighting with the angel that's trying to tell me, you need to get up and write this idea. No, 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 I'll remember it. But no, 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 you need to get up. No, 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 I'll remember it. And the next thing you know,
Yes,
I'm waking up and writing it because I'm fighting with myself internally while I'm
I
sleeping.
understand. I understand. So you said you're going to make this in a series. What prompted you to, go ahead and develop it and like that?
Into a series.
Yes.
Yeah. The publisher, this is published through Norns Triad Publications, and they told
Hmm.
me it was definitely series material. And so I
Hmm.
said, okay. So then it was like, okay, what can Boomer do next? And so going back to your question earlier, what I would do is at nighttime, I would write down and tell myself, I need to think of something for Boomer to do. Please come to me while I'm sleeping, the idea. And so um, that's how different ideas popped into my brain.
Oh, sure. Russell, you have a question?
Valerie, you're getting to know me well, aren't you?
Yes, I
Yes,
do.
I actually do not think that's silly about the dreams. I actually have characters come to me in my dreams and tell me things.
I love
And
it.
but I'm not allowed to tell my wife about it because she told me it creeps her out. Don't tell her that stuff. So don't tell anybody, but I totally get it. It happens to me too.
Yeah, and
Mhm,
it's so much fun when that happens because it means your character's really becoming real to you, and there's
mhm,
a force out there that's saying, I want to be heard, and they get to be heard through you, and I think that's
mhm,
powerful.
Okay, well, there's
mhm.
a problem.
Oh.
The problem is for you, it's pleasant because your character is a bunny. My character is a murderer. So
Oh.
when mine comes to me, it's a dark night.
Oh, that's scary.
But I do believe as writers, you're just you have to embrace those ideas when they come because like you were saying, maybe it's a guiding force, or your character is speaking to you. The development of your story is just paramount. Whenever it comes, and you can't choose it. You have to take it. You have to embrace it. You have to, go with it. And maybe that's, how everybody, I don't know, that's how it happens to me. Like, you cannot ignore that. You cannot ignore it. Just, and then if the publisher is telling you to do a series, and you've already got that seed planted, and you're like, okay, we're going to go forward. And even like for Russell's characters, you have to once the seed is planted, it's growing and you can't stop it. There's, unless you have a drought, I don't know. But for the most part, everything usually goes forward. So going forward, did you figure out what you want Boomer to do?
Oh, yeah. So in the first series, the Curious Bunny, he sees the town. And so he's traveling down this path, and he's seeing things he's never seen before. So I try to think of things that would make kiddos laugh. So, for example, he's like, he ends up in a park, and he's like, oh my gosh, why is rain coming from the ground? And of course, children all laugh at that because, before you even finish the story, they're like, it's a sprinkler, boomer. And that's what you want, is that interaction. But the main part is, the purpose of the story is to help kids live in the moment, to be curious, to notice things around them. But also, Boomer wants to get back home, and he has to recall how to get home. And so, as a person who taught preschool, recalling is very important. And so the kids get to help Boomer recall, like, what did you see next? Okay, so he's here. And then what did he see? And so then Boomer finally gets home all safe and sound. And so that's exciting. And the kids have done the recall, and you're.
And right there, you've said the most important thing is knowing your audience.
Yeah.
And when you know your audience, then you can, write that impactful story and just connecting with them. And so it sounds like you've been able to do that very well.
Thank you so much. Yes, I always, as you can tell, I'm very animated. And when I did teach preschool and kinder, I was always, in the story and all exciting. And so it was a great way to get kids to remember things. And so I try to bring that into my story writing.
So did you start writing as an author while you were teaching, or after you stopped teaching?
After, but I've always been a storyteller, in all different ways, from on stage, from theater to singing, and then in the classroom. But a time came again in the garden when I was working in the garden, and a voice said it was time for you to put your stories to print. And I cleaned up, walked out of the front garden here, and wrote a story. That's how I got started.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. And trust me, those stories nobody's read, because they were just getting started, so.
So tell us about your previous work, in case people aren't familiar.
As far as writing is concerned, books?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. So through OC Publishing, I have the Little Girl in the Moon series, and she's lovely, and I need to do some more with her for sure. But she's a moonling, and she lives in Tycho Crater. So again, I try to bring in where kids are learning things. So they're learning about the moon, the different types of craters. At the same time, I'm bringing in imagination. So I have a whole backstory of the moonling that I know would make a great movie one day. And I'm slowly writing the moonling language, because obviously they can't speak English. So she's really fun. And the purpose of her is, like, the first one was like, we're more alike than different. And I did the illustrations for that. So that was really fun. And then there's the Moonling Adventures, where the big idea. And in the big idea, it's where you discover at the very end, there's this moment in time where there's peace and love on earth. So I try to bring, my whole thing is to embrace imagination, to to love yourself, and to be kind to others. That's my big theme song for all my books.
Well, that sounds awesome. And then you wrote a young adult book, is that right, too?
Yes. When I was living overseas, I lived overseas for about 14 years, and I also did a lot of humanitarian work in Africa. And the one thing I found being in different classrooms was how we're more alike than different. And but the one thing that was so interesting when you're in different cultures and governments are all different is a lot of schools or countries, the government tells you what you're going to do when you grow up. And I found the kids were having a hard time dreaming. And then I was discovering it even in some of the American schools because of the culture that they were around. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to write a story based on my my grandmother's life. But I entwined my great grandparents because you needed to know how Ruby became the way she is. And the reason I did that was I wanted this story to say, wow, if a woman born in 1904 can run away to go to school because her parents were like, you're 16, because people graduated at 16 then.
Yes.
And then you're just supposed to get married and stop popping out babies. And so she had 5 brothers like me, and then she had 3 sisters though. And she's like, no, I want more in life. So she ran away to go to college. I mean, how many people do that? And then she had she had her accounting degree and started working, and she just, she really went after life. And that's what I want kids to know, that let's dream, go after, listen to yourself. There's something stirring inside you, and discover what you're meant to do in this world.
I
That's
love
that.
that. I love that message. And the kids, do you feel like they're connecting with that message?
Yes, I do. Again, I tested it out when I was very fortunate to know the headmaster at the American school, at one of the American schools in Dubai, and I would test some things out. And then I was, after it was written, I was for several weeks in a British school, well, actually several British schools in Saudi Arabia, and the kids were extremely positive. Matter of fact, they were
Oh,
like,
that's
oh,
awesome.
I think I'm going to name a baby Ruby.
That's
It's
so
like,
awesome.
oh, if my grandma only knew.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. And let me see. And I know you have several other children's books as well, right?
Yes, I have a whole bunch, and I have some that will be coming out with another publishing company that will be um, told about in the future. But I'm like
Mhm.
super thrilled about that. And the book will,
That's awesome.
I can't tell you the name of the book, but I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am about that one. So
I'm
there's a
sure.
lot of things coming out around the corner, and
Mhm.
so stay tuned.
So what do you enjoy most about, writing for this audience?
I really love writing for the children the most, because I connect with them. I'm just a big kid actually, and being a person who taught preschool through 8th grade, I don't know, when I walk back into the classroom, I'm like in my element. I'm so excited. They give me so
Mhm.
much energy. And I love to know what they're into, and it keeps me young, and it keeps me connected with what's happening in the real world. And when just listening to you guys and listening to y'all talk about this royal road, y'all are so much younger than me. I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm so glad to learn about all this.
Yes, me
So
too.
thank
Me
you,
too. Yes.
youngins.
I'm not that much younger. In fact, I probably am not.
You probably are. You're young at heart, but children are magical to me, and they'll tell you like it is. So if I'll go in, because I belong on this board at St. Michael's Episcopal Church school, and so I get to kind of test ideas out with little kiddos, and they'll tell it to you like it is, like, oh my gosh, no, or
Yes. And they're not always nice about it either. Like you can't get
no,
mad at them because they're innocent little kids. Right.
no,
But no, my daughter tells me that all the time. She's like, Mom, I really like your hair, but I think we should change it because I'm tired. I'm over it. And you're just like, what is this? Yeah. Or like, man, what did she tell me the other day? I told her, I said, okay, so it's time to get out of the shower. I need to do some running around. No, you can just leave me here and you can go. I don't want to go anywhere. I'm like, I'm gonna jerk you out of this shower. Like, how dare you? It was just because the whole thing. But yeah, no, kids will just straight up tell you what they're feeling, and they don't feel bad about it. They don't feel bad about it.
No, they
Mm-mm.
don't.
No, they don't. No.
Russell
I
probably
I actually got reprimanded last week when I was teaching because I had brought a Coke into the classroom, and they're like, Miss Sweeten, you are drinking a Coke and it's so bad for you. It's so bad for you. I was like, guys, I am so tired today. I said, I really just need a Coke. And then somebody goes, well, at least it's a Coke Zero, Miss Sweeten, at least. And I was about to fall on the floor. I was like, okay, your parents have done well. But I was like, I'm in trouble with my own class.
That's hysterical. But
I
what I was
know.
going to say is that Russell probably remembers it, but y'all probably weren't born yet. But there was an Art Linkletter show. Do you remember that, Russell?
I do not.
Really?
I remember the Art Letter show.
Yeah.
My mother watched it,
Yeah.
but I was outside.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
was
anyway,
I
he
never
would
watched.
interview kiddos, and his phrase was, "Kids say the darndest things." And
I remember
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And you can watch some of them on. I would come inside when Mama would say, "Okay, he's interviewing the kiddos," So
I was
Mhm.
bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
he inspired
so
me in lots of ways not to ever be shy about what to say.
Mhm.
So, Aimee,
Yeah.
you better not let your kids watch that. They might say more.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, today in like today's time. So when we went home for the holidays, right? YouTube has become this huge thing, I feel like, for kids. Like there's a kids YouTube channel, all this
Right.
stuff, right? And when I went home for the holidays, my nieces and nephews were watching YouTube Kids. And so my kids got onto that. So now when Meadow comes home from school, she's all like, oh, I want to watch YouTube. Oh, there's educational stuff on YouTube. There's Danny Go-Go. There's Blippi. Rachel, Miss Rachel's on there. And like there is like educational stuff. My kids watch other people crafting or other people playing. And I'm like, why don't you just go and play? And then, you get all the moans and the grunts when you turn it off. You're just like, you're just watching other people play. Go play. Like it's a whole thing. So yeah, no, I don't need more sassiness in my life. I've just determined, I liked it better when they were emo, like they couldn't move, they couldn't roll off anything, and they couldn't talk to you. Now they talk to you, they move, they yell at you, and I'm just like, I don't like you anymore. I just don't. No.
And why did I have you?
Yes. Well, Diane, I'm so happy that you have all these books that are inspirational and connecting with kids with great messages.
Thank you so much. I really
Diane,
appreciate y'all having me.
would you please tell the listeners how to find out more about you or where your books are? What's your connections? How do they reach you?
Sure, I'll be
Mhm.
happy to. So I'm on almost all social media platforms. But for those who are watching, my last name's kind of different. So but just go to that website, diannfloydboehm.com. For those listening, it's DIANN. There is no E in Diane. DIANN FLOYD B as in boy OEHM.com. And you can find me there. And when you go to my website, the links are just there for Pinterest, Facebook, etc. They're all just there, nice and easy for you. And my books, of course, are on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as far as being able to order. But you can order my books through I love this because you can order it through any small local bookstore and they'll have it to you in no time. Yay!
Mhm. That's
I
awesome.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And like Russell's got his Texas Longhorns hoodie on. I've been here. I'm telling you, it's cold
It's
over here.
cold. It's cold, but I didn't expect it to be.
Yeah.
You didn't get
No,
the
I
forecast.
know. Well, last week it was like 90 degrees last week. Like it was
Yes.
90 and beautiful.
Saturday was so hot.
It was
I know. It was lovely.
amazing.
I washed my car last Saturday. Well, and the girls attempted to help me. And if you look at my car, you can tell that my kids attempted to help me. Okay. But we're going to rock it because they tried to help me. But Oh my goodness. I love it. It's okay. That's why we live in a bipolar state, right? Our weather is bipolar. You don't know what you're going to get from one week to the next. But oh my gosh, Diann, it's always so much fun to have you on and to hear about your books and just your love for kids, your love for writing, and just the enjoyment and happiness that it brings you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things. I encountered that with authors. I feel like authors have generally the most passion and just love for what they write in. Clearly, that's why they write in it. But yours is like a whole new level. You're just one of the kindest people I've ever met. But you just love kids, right? My kids love Boomer. We have read Boomer. They absolutely love Boomer. And so we read it quite frequently. It's a staple in our house, just like Valerie's The Donut Tree is another staple.
I have that
our
book. I
house.
love it.
Right? It's so great. It is so great.
I
So,
bought one for me and I bought one for my grandson.
oh,
Yes,
love
thank
it.
you.
See, I'm
Thank
telling
you.
you have to, because I like that book too. I read it for my own self. But Diann, you know that you were welcome to come on and hang out with us anytime. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your morning to come hang out, chit chat, and let us get to dive in deeper and get to know what you're currently working on. And I can't wait to see what is next for Boomer. So thanks for hanging out with us today, Diann.
Well, thanks guys for having me, and thanks for teaching me about the Royal Road.
Oh, right. I'm telling you, all
Yeah,
these web
right.
novels. You guys have to go check them out. I'll put in the comments some of the ones that I have that you guys can go and check out. But if you're here in Texas, bundle up, stay warm. We were not built for this weather, you guys. So stay warm the rest of the week. But until next Monday, everybody have a great week, a great rest of today, and we will see you all next Monday. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.